Hey Cameron, what's up, man? This is Coach Raddick at University of Richmond here for your video analysis. First off, man, it was awesome getting to see you at camp. I hope you enjoyed getting to play in front of the coaches and getting to see Pitt Field. We're going to jump into your video here. So first thing, if you haven't done so already, I want you to take a peek at the email that I sent. So in that email, there's going to be a lot of good content. The player development video and the in-game approach video will have a lot of good stuff for you. And then also I want you to check out the hitters drill library, and specifically the preparation drills and the core drills. I'm going to be referencing a lot of those as we go through your swing here. So if you watch those ahead of time, it'll make a little bit more sense as I use certain words, phrases, and things like that. But hopefully this is a really good way for me to not only suggest some things that I see in your swing, but also give you some ways to work on those things using some of the drills that we do with our guys pretty much on a daily basis at the University of Richmond. So yeah, man, I think this will be super helpful for you. And I think there's a lot to like about your swing. You're very athletic and you got a really good feel for your body. So I think a lot of these adjustments are going to be super easy for you to make. And I'm looking forward to diving into this with you. So first thing, we're going to take a peek at your initial load here. So a couple of things, I got you here compared here to Bregman. So I just want you to see a couple things here with him. I want you to notice how he really gets into his back hip, and I want you to notice how he really puts a lot of force into the ground and into his back foot here. So you can really see as he loads, right, he's really going down, getting into the ground, getting into that back leg. And you can see, right, he's in his heel. He's got his knee over the heel. His knee isn't pushing over his front foot. And as he moves forward, you can see that coil in that front hip, right, that front butt cheek kind of pointing towards the second baseman. That's going to keep him back as he moves forward, right? That's really important for us when we hit, is we want to be able to stay on our back leg as we move forward all the way into his launch position, all right? So taking a peek at you, so the one thing I do see here kind of from the start is you can kind of see when you load, rather than kind of loading down into the ground, you kind of pop up a little bit. And I can see you getting into that back hip, but you do kind of pop up and get out of that back hip, and there's a little bit of that kind of backward movement as you load rather than, like I said, loading down into the ground. So that is something I think you can work on, and I want you to see here too, as you move forward, I do see that coil in the front. So that's something that for me, I'm like, man, you can really get a lot more out of your load and a lot more out of your legs just by that adjustment of kind of getting down into the ground, into that back hip. So I want you to check out a couple drills, and I'm going to kind of go more in depth as to what I'm looking for in those videos. The preparation drills, so that's all of our med ball throws, and then our band drills are going to be fantastic for you, I think, in working on this exact thing. So watch those videos. Like I said, I'll get more in depth on them. And then the T drill, the big T drill that I would suggest is going to be step back drill. The big cue for you in step back drill is when you take your step back, really think about sinking into the ground, sinking into that back leg. I think that's going to clean up a lot of things for your swing. I'm going to kind of go through a couple other things that I see, but that's like the biggest thing that I see that I think is going to clean up a lot of things, is really making sure you're working on that first load, or that initial load, and getting into that back hip. And I'm really gonna get in depth on those things in those videos. So that's the big thing I want you to work on. And then I'm going to show you a couple of things too, some other things that I think are kind of causes of you not loading as efficiently as you could into that back leg. Next thing we're going to look at is this launch position here. So a couple of things with Bregman I want you to notice, right? He's still in that back hip, strong upper body position. And I want you to notice his body positioning, right? He is center of his body, but you can definitely see a little bit more weight on that back side. That's because he's getting ready to rotate out of that position. So again, we want to be center of our body, but we also want to be a little bit back in that back hip, just so we can make sure we're ready to rotate. So looking at you right when you get your foot down, let's get you here. So this is a really strong position, I think. You see yourself in that back hip a little bit. You definitely do have a little bit of weight back and strong upper body position. So really nothing here, man. You're really getting into a strong launch position. No stride drill is in the drill library. That is a drill that I definitely suggest for everybody, right? Even guys like you who are really good at this, just kind of working on consistently making sure we know, hey, what position are we trying to get into? Can we hit out of that position? All that good stuff. But this looks really good. You can see a lot of similarities between you and Alex. And again, I think this will even be stronger as you kind of work on that initial load, getting into that back hip a little bit more. Okay. Next thing we're going to look at, and this is kind of a big one for you too, but again, like I said, I think as you kind of work on your load, this is going to clean up. So like I said with Alex here, as he's working on that initial load, he's able to stay in that back leg. Right when he gets into his launch position, we're going to check out what we call our center line. So I'm just going to draw a line through the middle of his body. And I want you to notice here how he never rotates in front of the center line, right? He stays on that line throughout his whole swing. And because of that, I want you to notice his bat path, how long it is, right? It starts deep in the zone, and then it's going to stay long, and it's going to stay extended through the zone. So notice, right? Notice how his body is completely turned, and his hands have yet to cross his body, right? That's going to really allow his barrel to accelerate through the zone. Notice how it comes right off that back shoulder. That's what we call connection. So notice how his barrel is really being driven by his lower half and his positioning. Really good stuff. Even after his contact point here off of the front foot, his barrel is still staying in the zone, right? So his long bat path and his connected bat path are all a result of him staying on that center line as he rotates. Really good stuff. So we're going to take a peek at that with you. So here's your center line down through your body, and I want you to notice how you really shift in front of that line, okay? Again, like I said, the main issue with this is probably that initial load. As you kind of work on that, I think this will clean up. But this is something that we're looking to clean up right after we kind of work on you getting into that back hip a little bit more. When we rotate, we need to make sure we stay back on that center line, okay? You do a good job, right? When you do start to turn, you can really see that you do fire those hips and that barrel is getting in the zone early. But probably one of the biggest things is that, you do get really good extension too. Like your hand path is really good, but you getting in front of that center line is basically you just getting a little too far on that front foot, and that's costing you a little bit of power, right? You're going to be able to drive that baseball a little harder by staying on that center line, making sure you're getting into that back hip, all that good stuff. So two of my favorite drills, I really want you to check these out. First is Bellinger drill. Bellinger drill is really going to make sure that you're not getting too heavy on the front side. Really think about staying stacked on the back leg when you do that drill. And then one of my other favorite drills is Pedroia drill. Definitely watch that video because I'm going to get more in depth as to what I'm looking for within that drill. But that's going to be a really good one for you to work on. Creating space between you and the baseball, making sure you're not shifting in front of that center line when you rotate. I think that's going to be huge for you. Okay, so those are my two big drills for you: is the prep drills, so the band drills, med ball throws, and step back drill to work on your initial load. Okay, making sure I'm getting it into the ground, not hopping up when I load, not weight shifting back when I load, but making sure I go down into the ground, into my back hip. And then Bellinger drill is going to be a really good one for you to make sure you're not getting too heavy on that front side like you kind of see here, making sure you're staying back and stacked. And then Pedroia drill is going to be an awesome one for you to make sure you're staying on that center line. And the cool thing about Pedroia drill is you can kind of incorporate that into any other drill just by shifting the tee kind of back in your stance a little bit. That would be something I really suggest for you, is whenever you're doing tee work, just deepen up the tee a little bit. Like make sure it's not much further past your front foot. Like set the tee up kind of right off your front foot. That's probably a good contact point for you, just to make sure you're creating space and you're not shifting in front of your center line as you do your drill work. So yeah, man, that's all I got for you. Hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully there's some things and some drills that we talked about that you can incorporate into your routine. It was great seeing you play. Please keep me in the loop with how you're doing. Best of luck. I know as you're finishing up your fall season, or you're probably just starting your fall season, and as you get into the off season, please let me know if you need anything. And again, it was great seeing you, and hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.